Hi, welcome. My name is Arya Chidisi, and it is a pleasure to be a host for you all here tonight or this morning or wherever you are in the world. So as I mentioned, please dive into the chat and introduce yourself. We have people from something like 15 plus countries around the world. And yeah, well, how exciting. I don't think I have enough pages though on my screen to actually see every one of you. So now I'm going to invite you to applaud this evening, on camera in Zoom land. So if everyone can give a round of applause or a wave, awesome. It's going to be, yeah, very cool. Oh, we have some, excellent. So everyone, welcome to the official book launch of The Human Being book by Ashkan Tashvir. I am going to be your host here this evening, this morning. And look, you may be here for a wide number of reasons. So number one, you may be completely new to this. You just saw it in passing and you're interested. So if that's you, can you either give a wave or put something in the chat, give a little bit of, yeah, that's me. Awesome. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Brendan. You may also be in a place where you've heard about it. Maybe you've spoken to someone about the being profile and you're here to learn more. Yeah, you're coming in to go deeper and go, what's this all about? So if that's you, just give a wave. Awesome. And finally, you may be in the position where you've known this work of the being framework and you're here to contribute and share and continue to grow the community. So if that's you, just give a high five to the to the screen or say hello in the chat. So wherever you're coming from, wherever you are, welcome, and it is a pleasure to have you here. I'd like to point out a few members of the team who are operating in the background, or you may have heard of them. So firstly, my wife and the person who's been emailing you, Melissa Chidisi. So you can give a wave. Awesome. And then secondly, Odette Obrenica, she is in the background. She's going to be the room assist. So if you can wave, Odette. So she'll be muting the microphones and turning it on and off. We're also collecting questions and answers towards the end. We've got a dedicated lot. So please post in the chat all of your questions as we go. We have an immensely eventful event today with many speakers. So yeah, we're going to be moving through each of them. The Zoom hands up. So if you do have a question as we get to that section, please use the Zoom hands up, like Markus is doing. Is that a question, Markus, or is that's a demo? Thank you very much. And Odette will bring the mic to you. I just want to share a little bit about myself. So again, my name is Arya Chidisi. I'm the director of Genesis Ventures. So day to day, I'm supporting technology entrepreneurs. I'm running our group of companies. And in my background, I'm someone who I've just been passionate about what makes people tick. Yeah. So I studied psychology at the University of Sydney. I had a background learning about Buddhism and Eastern philosophies, but when I first met Ashkan, we vibed on technology, we vibed on business, but then as I started talking to him, the breadth of knowledge just kept going deeper and deeper. He would connect people like Martin Heidegger to Aristotle, and then Carl Jung to Nietzsche and Rumi, to Freud. So I slowly got this appreciation that not only was he bringing together and being influenced by all of these thinkers over thousands of years, but we started to articulate it in this way that it was making a difference for me, it was for the business world, yeah, for the entrepreneurs that we were working with, for the businesses we were working with, and as you'll hear and see from many people in many different roles. So for me, this book, Human Being, that we're here to celebrate and launch, to me, this is more like a manual that I wish I had before I went into business, before I made business partnerships, before I hired certain people. It's like a lens that allows us to read ourselves and then read others and make more effective decisions. let alone the impact that I've had, at home, in my personal relationships, and then in my friendships and so on. If you're completely new to this, I do want to introduce you to this whole concept, because you see, you might hear, for example, on the news, a lot of highly effective entrepreneurs and leaders talk about, oh, like let's go and build a company. We have a great team, yeah. And they say you need to be around great people. But what we've found is that they can't articulate what they actually mean, yeah. And I slowly and personally got that what Ashkan has been putting together in this book, and also if you've seen his last book and first book and bestseller, is Being, the Source of Power. So he was able to articulate things that far more than many of these leaders could articulate themselves. So we're going to hear from that today. So in a moment, I'm going to pass it over to Ashkan. When we were creating the first book launch last year, we were having this plan. We sat together as a team, and we went, hey, let's have you there talking Ashkan for a couple of hours like we do in most book launches. And he said, no, I want the community to be heard. Yeah, this work is about the people, and we want to hear from them. So you're going to be hearing from a wide range and a very diverse range of speakers. We did have, there was only limited availability as people could read the book and come and present here. So we're continuing to expand that as we go. Now, we are going to finish in 2 hours, 7:30 Sydney time. So just note that for the close. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Ashkan Tashvir. So he has a multitude of different backgrounds. One is as a technologist, being a Microsoft certified trainer, back in his early days. So that's one part of him, is the software engineer who breaks everything down into small chunks and coding and framework. Then you've got this whole business venture builder and CEO of Genesis and the Being Profile. And then finally, as a philosopher and as an author, which you are all here to learn about today. So please, Ashkan, welcome to the launch of Human Being, Ashkan Tashvir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow. So it's extremely humbling and exciting to be here. I've seen all of your faces. This is quite a magical thing that technology is making available to us. So great appreciation for technology. But beyond that, like appreciation of every single of you who received our message, didn't perhaps judge quite quickly and are here and are willing and open to hear what we have to say. And my commitment is to make it something worthwhile for you. I appreciate your time. Well, a little bit about me, like I can break it into 4 different parts, like as Arya touched on it, like in part, I'm a technologist, particularly a software engineer. I had a bit of background there. I'm an entrepreneur, and better to say today, I would say parallel entrepreneur, a venture builder. We have resources, people, experience, and capital being shared amongst multiple different businesses, and that's basically what I'm quite excited about. I see entrepreneurship as this vehicle that is uniquely positioned to make a huge difference in solving a great part of human beings' problem. And the third part is me as an investor, not in a quite stereotypical neoliberalistic way, just investing capital for the sake of its profit. That's obviously a part of it, but like there is this wealth being there's this capital in the hands of some, and are desperately seeking opportunities to invest their money, or the inflation is going to steal from them. So this money is not in their pocket, but it's out there doing the stuff. And that's basically why I'm so interested in investment. The fourth part, and perhaps the most important part for myself, especially at this stage in my life, as well as perhaps what brought you here, is me as a philosopher, as a person who is extremely obsessed with human beings and humanity. Now, so a little bit of a story, where this whole thing came from. Soon enough, when I established in Genesis in the beginning, we were thinking with Arya to start in Genesis Ventures. When Genesis Ventures was not supposed to be an incubator, a conventional VC, a conventional hedge fund, or anything like that. We wanted to actually be quite hands-on in working on a series of businesses, sharing resources, time, experience, knowledge, the people that we had around us. Now, the problem was to find the right businesses or business concept, and better to say, the right teams to invest in. Not just investment of our capital, but also the investment of time. We find it quite dearly. So we established in Genesis Ventures and started reaching out to many entrepreneurs, self-proclaimed entrepreneurs in over 30 different countries in the world. People from, like, in San Francisco, United States, all the way to the people in New Caledonia. And over the course of a bit of more than 1 year, we engaged in some sort of way with more than 1,800 people, founders, startups, entrepreneurs. And our hope was that we can find the right ones, the perfect human beings that we can partner with, and we can build these super successful businesses. And the problem was that it was a very low conversion rate. And later I realized that this is not a new thing. Like in working with more experienced VCs, venture capitals, or individuals, we realized that, oh, there is this problem. Finding the right people is going to be really hard. So our assumption in the beginning was, okay, we are on top of technology. We do have technology teams. We know how it works. We know how to tell, distinguish with discernment the good quality of technology and if it's not. The second was we did have access to capital. The third, we said, okay, we know enough about businesses and we're willing to know and learn more about how to build businesses. Basically, all those research and studies and experience that we gain, it turned to something that today it's called Genesis Framework. Many of you would be familiar with it. And so these three, but was not enough. They were all necessary, but not enough. It was all about people. And I normally, draw this triangle, this pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid, the biggest chunk is people now. So as I said, we couldn't find these perfect people, but at the same time, there was this rock solid fact, rock solid truth that we discovered, which was the importance of human being. Now, later in my studies of over 300 different people, over 300 entrepreneurs, leaders, top achievers in the world, I realized that there is this common rhetoric that they keep talking, these renowned entrepreneurs, leaders, professionals, they're talking about the importance of people. But the problem is they call it great people. You need to have great people in your team. You need to have amazing people in your team. You need to have talented people in your team. But what those words supposed to mean? So it was really hard to tell what these talented, amazing, great people are. And that was the question that sparked the whole journey of me working on this body of work with the help of my team. We looked into the existing tools, approaches, different disciplines in psychology, for example, different tools, assessment tools. I can't say they were out of merit. That's a big statement. And no, they were not out of merit, but they were not, none of them, at least the ones that we looked into, could give us that kind of understanding, basic understanding of these people we wanted to choose and investigate. How committed they are, what is their relationship with integrity, how authentic they are, how assertive they are. Will they give up after, like we ending up investing millions of dollars in their business, putting our reputation at stake? Well, that was the beginning where when we realized that many of these existing tools, they actually categorize people in different personality types. They categorize people in extroverted and introverted, as if we are hardwired to be the way we are. And there was not much conversations around transformation. Actually, in academia also, when I looked into the literature, there was very, very poor literature around transformation. On the other side, then we had these approaches that they mainly focused on behaviors, what is visible on the surface. Well, of course, the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are quite important, but they don't tell us everything. And we we human beings, we are really good. We can be really good in pretense, pretending, acting. And at the end of the day, like the behaviors on the surface are going to reveal a part, not the full part, the totality of the human beings. But we realize that there are deeper qualities that matter. I call them aspects of being, or basically a cluster term for all of it, which I call being. So by being, we don't necessarily mean existence or you being out in the world, but we're talking about the nature, quiddity, whatness, the qualities that human beings possess. Now, obviously, this is a huge claim to say that, like we identify all the human beings' attributes and properties or qualities. This is quite in a narrow scope of performance and effectiveness and fulfillment, leadership. It's not narrow enough, but I mean, we're not looking into human being from biological perspective necessarily, or the nerve system, or the organs, or anatomy, etc., etc. So this led us to shape this ontological model, which is part of the being framework. Now, there are existing other content that they focus a lot on terms or concept meanings, such as authenticity or integrity. Integrity is a good one. Being whole and complete. What does that supposed to mean? Well, another challenge here was to demystify that again, trying to break that down, that rather vague, high-level concept that some collapse it with morality, human decency, and also other things, being honest, etc., etc. So this being whole and complete was one of the things that I wanted to break it down to smaller chunks. So we call integrity a meta factor. That's a kind of generic term. It's one of the meta factors that we have in the model. Now, like in the model, I've broken that down into smaller chunks. 4 moods, we call them moods, things like fear, anxiety, care, and vulnerability. And then 16 primary ways of being. Things like authenticity, commitment, courage, compassion, etc., etc. Now, beyond that, we have some behavioral factors, things like assertiveness, persistence, resourcefulness, proactivity. There are 8 of them. And these are like the bridge between our more, deeper qualities, like moods and primary ways of being, and the actual behaviors that we manifest out there. Oh, so that was a great achievement for myself, at least, as this person who was seeking the reality around the matter. So we're not now just categorizing people in different categories, and we could demystify and deconstruct and break down a concept such as integrity into smaller chunks. Then later, like we created the assessment tool, and we measure these qualities. It's not just about measuring. Some people like measurement, like some people don't. I'm not going to focus on that at this stage, but it's the ontological model that actually gives you this mirror so that you can see yourself in it And also it can act as this lens that you can borrow, you can adopt, and it can support you to understand other human beings as well. Now, in working with other people that they are in leadership position, not the top achievers, but the people that are in leadership roles, I realized that despite the fact that many of them are extremely, or some of them exceptionally, good at or effective in their own field, in their own industry, I realized that they know very little about human beings, our interactions, the way that we communicate, and these qualities that we call them aspects of being. Now, some people may say these are common sense, and that's the best criticism that I would like to draw to this body of work. Yes, they may seem like common sense, but you know that they're not common. Yeah, how important it is when we are committed, or we expect other people to be committed around their promises, for example. So I would like to emphasize, this is not a psychometric tool. This is an ontometric tool, for example. This is not a model that we categorize people. It's basically a way to see how you or the other person is relate to different qualities like responsibility. Are they being a passive victim in their life, or they're being an active agent, where they're sitting in that spectrum? Now, how a person relates to these qualities is going to impact their experience, their unique subjective experience of life. At the same time, that while that subjectivity is there, no one can claim that, you know what, I don't relate to fear or anxiety at all. We all relate to them, but differently. So therefore, this model, this framework, this tool is not to judge people. It's to assess people. It's to help you to look into the areas that they perhaps matter when it comes to someone's effectiveness, fulfillment, and performance. When you're going to make decisions, key decisions in your life, choosing a spouse, partner, business partner, hiring a new member in your team, or choosing that political leader that you are going to vote for, it's very, very, very important to look into these areas and assess them. So that's basically what's there. And another thing that I would like to say is we all care about things. We all care about different things. This is a phenomenological common experience fact that when we care about something, we want to be fulfilled. We want to hit the target. Why? Let's not talk about it today. But when we care about something, we want to be fulfilled. Now, in order for us to fulfill, we need to be effective. Now, in order for us to be effective in our decisions and endeavors, we need to be integrous. We need to have our different bits and pieces, our cogs in the machine to work at an optimum level. And that's the conversation around integrity and the breakdown of integrity into the model. In order for us to be integrous, as I said, all these bits and pieces should operate at an optimum level. And then basically these bits and pieces, we would call them aspects of being, ultimately are going to influence greatly our behaviors. And our behaviors and decisions are going to, in great part, determine our accomplishment, something that many of us are quite obsessed with. I think that's pretty much it. That's basically what I wanted to communicate. Thank you for your patience. I hope that I could communicate what basically was there for me. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ashkan. Wow, when I hear all of that wrapped up into, a small 15-minute thing, I think about the years and years of hard work, I mean, articulating a human being, not that we even are doing that whole thing, but that whole journey it's a huge demanding task. Now, in saying that, I am pleased to welcome Phaedra Pym. She has been the editor behind the book. Now, not only the human being book, which we are all here to celebrate, but also Ashkan's first book, which is Being. And if you don't know Being is not a normal book. It's 672 pages. It's 182 references. So Phaedra, to me, is a type of superwoman who can break through bullets. So without further ado, I'd like to open the floor to you, Phaedra.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Lovely to see some familiar faces here this evening. And yeah, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And yes, it certainly was a pleasure to work on a book half the size of Being. So as I was preparing my words for this evening, I actually looked back on the launch of Being, and I was astounded to discover that it was almost a year ago to the day that we're celebrating this evening. So in fact, to release 2 books in 12 months is actually an astounding feat for any author, let alone books of this caliber. Human Being, this wonderful book, was never intended to merely be a simplified version of Being. However, without the Being books, sort of deep philosophical discussions, and being half its size, it is far more readily digestible by the everyday reader. But that's not to say it's lacking in substance, far from it. Human Being's 10 chapters explore this radical paradigm that Ashkan's just been telling us about. It allows us to see human beings, ourselves and others, like never before. And it explains each of these 31 aspects of being in the framework with relatable examples and stories. It also has dedicated chapters on the exposure triangle, the shadow, being profile, transformation methodology, and it even includes a practical component on how a reader could have a go at transformation themselves. I truly believe this book will be a valuable asset for all of you within this community. My role as editor has been to support Ashkan to articulate what he wants to communicate to readers in a linear narrative format, and to ensure also that it's well written and structured in a logical, easy to follow format. It's also been to manage the production process, which has many moving parts, and that requires the efforts of a team. I'd particularly like to acknowledge a few people for that. Caroline Yu for her support in sub-editing, Odette Obrenica for the amazing cover artwork, and yeah, others who all know you're here, who all know the role you've played. To sum up, I feel deeply privileged and honoured to have played a key role in this journey in helping Ashkan bring this book to the world. And I congratulate you, Ashkan, on this achievement. I know there are many more books in the pipeline, not only from Ashkan, but from others within the community. So all I can say is watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant, Phaedra. Thank you. Ashkan?
Yeah. So, like I'm trying not to occupy so much time, but I can't not say this. It's inauthentic of me if not I don't bring this up. Particularly Phaedra, like without Phaedra, this could have been impossible. And there are other people, including our beautiful community of very diverse people, very different background, like their comment, their feedback, all the organizations that they have opened their door and then trusted us to actually test and learn more about the implication of these over the last couple of years. I mean, even prior to the book being published, when Being Profile as a tool has been developed, like without the contribution from John Smallwood, for example, today the head of Genesis Coach Academy, this work and many other coaches that actually work with him, this thing could have turned, despite my intention, it could have turned into a more theoretical, philosophical thing rather than being quite practical, and it's being used by coaches, practitioners, and leaders. So I would like to thank everyone in the Genesis team, the community of practitioners and coaches, all the organizations that they have let us to work with them. We have a few people today that are going to talk about that. And also the contribution, the massive contribution of the prior thinkers, the philosophers, that without their contribution, I could be this particle in the orbit being quite confused. So yeah, I wanted to acknowledge that.
Awesome.
Arya?
Thank you. Yeah, and I can stand a testament to that because I hear very many conversations of these. And I'd like to switch to someone who I think would even know this more, right? Which is Atefeh Tashvir, who is the wife of Ashkan, who has seen behind the scenes what it takes to build something like this. So over to you.
Oh, hello. It's great to see everyone here. I would love to take this opportunity to acknowledge and congratulate Ashkan to completing his second book, Human Being. This book is very sentimental to me. It's a reminder of a person I've become today, and I'm still in the journey of mastering my personal growth. It certainly hasn't been an easy journey, and I'm absolutely privileged that I was part of it. As I was reading this book, I felt like I lived every page of it, and I was present to Ashkan and what it meant to him, all the suffering and pain that he was present to that caused to initiate all these things. I also would love to express my gratitude for you are a true inspiration, and you are the most devoted, visionary, and dedicated person that I know. And yeah, I'm truly honored to be part of your life and to be here today. Thank you for you and being you. And I just would love to thank everyone at Genesis, the partners, and everyone who contributed to this. Thank you all. That's for me.
Thank you, Atefeh.
Well, Arya,
Right,
let me jump in here. Like it's
sure.
going to be a love story now, but just the thing is, like, Atefeh was pregnant, and I mean, like, we have now this beautiful 8-month-old baby daughter, Diana, and it was like, without her support, this could have been impossible. Yeah.
I know I'm here, I'm wearing a suit and things, and one thing that I back doing business events is, you're being businessy. But then, the being framework, like we're measuring things like your relationship with love, your relationship with partnership. And yeah, I'm just very present to that of how we are sharing this conversation out there. And this is what it's like actually in our day to day. Now, this brings me to, quite a sort of meaningful share. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit about John Lowe. Now, John Lowe is a person who has had a long career in technology. He's a type of person who was part of the team that built the Swiss National Stock Exchange, the first ever electronic stock exchange. So you can imagine what goes on in his mind. Now, unfortunately, he can't be with us. He has had these health issues, and he's given me a message to read. So he shares that as human beings, we miss so many opportunities to have a say in our experience of life and the impact we make in the world. Ashkan's work on human being is about becoming mindful and aware of or ways of being and the impact this can have on our experience and performance. We have much greater say in how life goes than we think. We can choose to develop ways of being that enhance life, such as freedom, kindness, authenticity. We can also learn to not be taken over by rage, fear, doubt, by focusing on empowering ways of being. Ashkan provides a comprehensive guide towards self-knowledge, enlightenment, and self-empowerment through his work. I write this from a hospital bed in Sydney, soon to have a second surgery for an advanced colon cancer and a bladder repair. It has been a 7-month journey for me with many unpleasant and uncomfortable symptoms, including catching COVID before the first surgery. The team operating is the best in the state for my condition. That outcome and my ability to stay positive and look forward to making important future contributions to people and society is attributable to exercising say in my experience whilst being ill and facing mortality. So let's just take a brief moment to receive those words from John. Yeah, so definitely John has played a decent contribution, and he worked with Ashkan, especially in the early days as they formulated the being profile. So he's left a mark. And if you don't know, he actually wrote a foreword in the being book, if that interests you. Okay, so let's move on. I'd like to now introduce John Smallwood. So John is the coach principal of the Ingenis Coach Academy. He is a person who has been CEO of, I lost count, John, it's something like 15 plus companies, but his passion is then shifted into coaching CEOs and leaders. But now he also coaches other coaches to do the very same. So without further ado, please take the floor, John Smallwood.
Thank you, Arya. Thank you. And hard to follow that from John Lowe. And it's kind of weird in a way. It actually doesn't seem that long ago since we were all in this room for the first book launch. Like it really only seems like it was only months ago, and it's a lot longer than that, but it's been pretty amazing. And the first thing I really do want to do is acknowledge Ashkan. It's quite incredible. Anyone who knows Ashkan knows that he is a very unusual human being. And I mean that in the best possible way, in that I don't know anyone who actually gets through the amount of work that he does with the passion that he does, and just even to deliver 2 books in such a short space of time is pretty incredible. But before I go into this, there's 3 distinct groups of people I want to speak to. The coaches, and I know there's a lot of coaches there. If you can give me a wave if you're a coach. Anyone who's in a leadership role, if you're in a leadership role, give me a quick wave as well, and influencers. And what I want to say to you is that this is not just a reference book. And I received it last Monday, not the Monday just gone, the one before. I was a third of the way through it by Monday night. I was nearly completed it on the Tuesday. I managed to finish it by the Wednesday, and it's that type of book. So it's one of those books you pick it up, and if you're interested in your own development, of the development of others, you're going to go through it. But it is not a reference book. And what I'm going to say to you, this is a guidebook. This is a guidebook for you if you are a coach, a leader, or an influencer. It's a guidebook, and it's a very powerful book. And I'm so excited, not just for the launch of the book, but also for the results it's going to bring about. So, for those of you who are coaches, leaders, influencers, you've got to get your hands on this and do what I'm doing now. I'm giving it away. So anyway, I'm going to keep it short, hand over to the rest of. I'm just looking forward to hearing from everyone else. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, John. Yeah, and I mean, it's already been a bit said, but I do want to reiterate that, John has played such a major role in putting that bridge back into, you could say, the boardroom or, the workplace. And that's had a massive impact on this body of work. So next up, I'd like to introduce Lucy Faulconer. So Lucy Faulconer has had a long history in management consulting before moving into being a coach. And she juggles all of that with 3 kids as well. So we'd love to hear from you, Lucy. Over to you.
Thank you, Arya. Hi, everyone. So great to see so many of you, and just so amazing to hear, Ashkan, what you just said. For me, I'm a leadership coach. I've been working for a long time in this area. I'm a psychologist and worked in management consulting for around 7 years, supporting corporates transform their leadership teams, transform their culture, transform their leaders, transform their strategy. And today I focus mainly on working with leaders and business owners, and as a facilitator and a coach. And when I started this journey years ago, I went into an ontological program in Chile for a year. So I was very lucky to go deep into the world of ontology and deep transformation very early on. But I knew there was something missing for me because I couldn't name what were those things, those qualities I was working with people. And once I met Ashkan 2 years ago through the Being framework and the Being profile, that's a tool that we use as coaches, I was finally able to articulate and name and give language to those things that I had been working with, but I couldn't tangibly see. So you can imagine that my heart is skip a beat and I was totally hooked, and then I went, and that's been that for the last 2 years. I've continued to work with this framework, and I've seen the impact it has on my clients, on the people I work with. In the last 2 weeks, and John was there with me, a client said from a leader I'd been working with, that her team said, now she treats us like human beings. And I was sort of, well, right, when they're not resources, they're just human. And that's what they were seeing in this leader. So this is what this framework gives them, an approach to really articulate what it is to be human. Today, I run the accreditation program with some of the people here for other coaches that want to become accredited. And just like me, a lot of them have been looking for something like this, and they've said, it's not a quick fix. That's something that I love. It's not a way of categorizing people. It's a way of looking at human being and how they relate to themselves. And it's also, it goes so far the behavioral level. So today I'm here excited to see that all of this that I've spent the last 2 years trying to learn is articulated in this book that I can read easily and with flow. Because as a psychologist, you won't imagine I struggled reading all those big textbooks, and Being was a challenge for me. This one has been so easy to read. It flows, and it has so many nuggets that not only for me, but that I know that I can give to my clients and it will support them to really understand and have that reference to the coaching process that we're doing. So, I'm excited to be here. I really encourage you to have a read, have a look. And Ashkan, just thank you so much for putting this out there. For me, it's been something I was looking for. I found it 2 years ago. I've been spending so much time trying to understand this. And today this book really gives me that access to something that is easy to share, easy to read, but also so deep that it's going to take a few times to read it to get all the value out of it. So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you today.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you so much. I love Yuta, while you were speaking, Lucy put in the comments about that whole, now she treats us as human beings, and I think that hits the nail on the head. We're just bringing it back to being human and being present to the humanity that is around us. So I'd like to now introduce someone in quite a different sector of IT. So Caroline New has been in that industry for over 30 years, 17 as a coach and executive coach to many information officers and chief technology officers. So she brings a depth of experience there. So I'd like you to join me in welcoming her, Caroline New.
Thank you, Aria. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak today, because being part of the Ingenesis community and having access to people like Ashkan and Aria, you and others in this community has really had a profound impact on my life and who I am as a coach. Growing up in Brisbane, I used to love exploring my father's library, and he was a psychologist like Lucy. And I can remember reading the 1970s classic, I'm Okay, You're Okay, which is about transactional analysis. And I was just, like, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12. And it woke me up to the idea that people, that human beings are more than you see on the surface, that we have deep complexity and that we have the power to impact and even control our experience of life. So fast forward 30 years and I discovered coaching. And while I was never going to be a psychologist, because both my parents were psychs, My initial coach training felt like Christmas Day. It was just such a magical experience, and I was so excited to explore this field. And over the 17, 18 years that I've worked as a coach, I've engaged in numerous trainings and accreditations, all of which contribute to my knowledge and my effectiveness as a coach. But despite being trained in working with behaviours and values and competencies, the work I choose to do today with my clients is primarily ontological, coaching the whole person rather than just focusing on specific issues or behaviours, because I know this is where I can deliver the greatest value for my clients. And just today, I was working with a client around his higher purpose. He's a VP of engineering for a tech company, and he got really clearly that this work in higher purpose for him will radically shift his influence and impact as a leader. I was fortunate to be one of the early coaches who road tested the being profile. And I was also part of the first cohort of Thrive Coach training, which was a transformational experience for me in and of itself. And it also gave me greater rigor and discipline as an ontological coach. This past year, I've been part of a small group engaged in the first Being Mastery program, working closely with Ashkan. And that's given me deeper insights into my individual reality, our collective reality, and a new sense of empowerment around what I want to create in my life. Now, you've heard Ashkan speak today, so you've had a little glimpse into his passion for seeking and understanding truth and reality, and his utmost commitment to empowering human beings to be their very best. Being Mastery has been that on steroids for the past 12 months. So I'm sure you can appreciate that it's changed how I see the world and what I can bring to my clients. But today is a book launch, and I was privileged to play a small role in helping to bring Human Being to completion. And I love the way this book makes Ashkan's work and his transformational methodologies so much more accessible. I'll be sending out copies to all my clients because I think this is a message that everyone needs to hear, particularly those who are serious about becoming the best version of themselves. As a coach, I'm beyond grateful to be part of a community and to have access to amazing tools and resources like the Being Profile and this new book, Human Being, and to work with leaders like Ashkan who live their truth and come from a place of integrity and authenticity. I am continually inspired and challenged to be more and to have a bigger impact. And that's because that I operate here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Yeah, you started that whole thing, talking about how you as a person are transforming before you give that transformation to others. And I think that that's such a critical piece of this work, that we're not teaching something theoretical, or, we're not trying to give tips and techniques to others or share that around. And that's what makes a difference. But it also makes it far more challenging, as he sort of pointed to. Fantastic. So everyone, I'd like to now move on to Markus O. Winzer. So Markus has a background in corporate sales, selling with his leading sales teams of over $300 million of sales with global teams before he became a coach, an effectiveness coach. And he actually recently posted a milestone of his where he has now worked with over 100 leaders doing the Being Profile with them. So I'd like to both congratulate him and also welcome him to speak. Markus, over to you.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm so grateful. But actually, I don't know if you can see it, but my heart is actually pumping so hard right now because I'm anxious. And imagine that 6 years ago, I would be really concerned about what people think about me. And now I can just actually communicate, hey, I feel anxious. It's totally okay to feel anxious like that. And it's human. It's part of being human. And one thing I see a lot in the market is we shouldn't have fear. We shouldn't have anxiety. And it's human. It's normal. It's just how we're being with it makes a big difference. So I'm so grateful to you, Ashkan, to you, John, for introducing me to this, and for you, Ashkan, to making the invisible visible. As a leadership coach and results coach now, I work with leaders, especially when they have teams and they want to make a difference in the world. But sometimes they get stuck, like we all do, when we have a meaning about something. Oh my God, this is not good. This can be only go wrong. And why is this the way it is? And For so many years, over 20 years in business, I achieved a lot of results, high performance. They call me a high performer in every aspect. But you know, the inner world, not being okay with not achieving 150% is really struggling for a lot of leaders. It's challenging. But what you have done, Ashkan, is with your work, you've put a framework together that allows us all to actually make the invisible visible and put language to something that helps us all actually distinguish, okay, what is actually stopping me, or what would I benefit from polishing? So when I first got introduced by John and did the profile, I thought, you know, after being a sales leader for so many years, hey, I know everything. And I was pretty arrogant, to be honest with you. And if you think, you know, if you're a leader and you think you know everything, then I invite you. In fact, I challenge you to do a being profile and actually see what could be the next level for you. So now I love this work so much that together with Lucy and many of the other coaches here, we really stand for leaders to have access and support and empower their teams to take the next level. What did I get from the community and going like literally every program, you know, whether it's being profile practitioner, Thrive coach training with John, the training, or being mastery with Ashkan, what it has given me the ability to be with whatever is there, whatever is present, and support others in doing and achieving really what they want. It's the key. It's the key that unlocks performance in your organization. And if you're a coach, want to do the same and you want to go to the root cause, not just play on the surface at the behavior level, then that's really it. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the community. And yeah, I don't know if I've hit my time or not, but yeah, that's what I want to say. I'm excited to work with sales leaders. Some of you I'm coaching right now. And yeah, some of you are coach leaders, so you have your own coaching practice. And I really, I applaud you for taking this on and actually being here. And thank you to everyone. Thank you, Ashkan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Markus. Really stood out for me, and I think you wrote that in there, which is the whole making the invisible visible, and that's so true. Because I mean, without that, I think you're left with confusion. It's very challenging. Thank you. So I would like to now introduce Markus. You want to come back? You want to loop
Sorry,
back?
I forgot one thing to mention. When I coach leaders now, I started coaching 2 years ago after 20 years in business. So going from 0 to coaching executive leaders, now people achieve results like 30% growth in revenue. And some leaders are already told me he's 20x'd his business within 12 months, and it's a 3-year journey to that. So it's really extraordinary results that I've never heard anyone achieve by just, you know, applying a different technique or a behavioral change. So sorry, I thought I mentioned that.
No, thank you, Markus. I think that's the other thing, because we can fall into the trap of getting very, I would call it navel gazing, right? Sitting there and just thinking about the inner world. But no, this work is also about being effective. So thank you. Excellent. So I'd like to move on to Jacqueline Hofste. And Jacqueline, I've known for some time, many years, and she actually started out as a physicist. But she then moved into the corporate world and ran large global teams of billion-dollar companies. And so she really knows what it is to lead complex groups. Today, she is one of the lead facilitators on the Ingenesis Influence leadership program. And please join me in welcoming Jacqueline.
Thank you, Aria, for the really nice introduction. And also thank you everyone else for your contribution. Gee, I bawled my eyes out already. And I can only hope that I maintain my speech for this short period. Obviously, I want to deeply thank Ashkan for what he's doing for this community and the world. When I first met Ashkan, he just came from Iran, and we're working for this small company. We were both employed, and we were both experiencing a high level of dysfunction. And we were both trying to mitigate this. And what I noticed back then was that Ashkan would come back overnight and he would have transformed an aspect of his life. And I was stunned. I just saw it and I thought, wow, how did he do this? When did he do this? Between 2 and 4 at night? So, and he's also the one who supported me to move into coaching, and I was resisting it. You know, sometimes we resist the good part. So I was resisting it, but now I'm so happy. I'm doing the right thing. I'm fully invested and it's really fulfilling my life. And well, coming back to this book, this book is putting human back into our humanity. And I think we have lost our ways a little bit. And to say that Ashkan is dedicated and persistent and making a huge difference in this world is a huge understatement. I can't express it in words, and it's been alluded on a few times, the amazing work he does, how much he can actually work. I mean, when do you do all of this? And it's done with such a high level of integrity and care. The amount of care that Ashkan puts into this community, I've never, ever seen before. And yes, I also want to say these tools are so well described, and they may give the sort of impression, wow, they're so clear and easy and nice to follow. Obviously, he has an amazing editor as well. That doesn't mean they're profoundly transformational, and that can be a little bit misleading. And I want to thank Ashkan also for giving me this amazing opportunity to launch the Influence Leadership Program this year. I love this program. This program is using the tools and distinctions from this book, and it's specifically designed for leaders who are responsible for teams, and it's challenging and are challenged, you know, with the typical business scenarios. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? Ashkan doesn't tinker around at the edges. He just goes right into the middle, right to the core. And I remember when he was pointing out to me that I can do better than in the corporate world, and I didn't want to hear. He was going right into the core of where I needed to transform. So now I've done that part. There's a lot more to come. And yeah, I thank everyone in this community for their contribution. It's just so, so profoundly connecting and inspiring. And there are no words to describe what Ashkan has created. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Yeah, I'm very present to, especially when you said care. I think that this is something that is actually quite rare in this world, and also a huge force that it's even can be challenging to be with that level of care from someone. So, and I think, Jacqueline, you really bridge things, especially when I met you, that the complexity of the teams that, you know, you've experienced working with, and, you know, now that you're passing on to others, especially through the influence program, I mean, you know, that this is the things happening in billion-dollar companies and such that you were a part of. So I'm just, it fills me with excitement for what is to come as we continue. Awesome. So now next I'd like to introduce Marlous Teh. So Marlous has had a deep background and experience in the not-for-profit sector. So organizations such as Lifeline, like Camp Quality, which here in Australia are large names. And today she's also a life and a mindset coach. So over to you, Marlous.
Thanks so much, Aria, and hi, everyone. First of all, Ashkan, congratulations. I have to be very authentic here and disclaim that I have yet to dive into this, but I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm really, as Jacqueline said, loving the conversation and seeing the connection of the impact it's already been having. So thank you. Because I haven't dove into the book yet, I can share a little bit from, I suppose, my own learning experience into becoming a being profile practitioner, which I just did a couple of months ago. And I was introduced to the being profile and the framework must be now just under 2 years ago. And through connections with Aria and Melissa, you know, doing the being profile as a client, and really learning to see, you know, the inner workings of this framework and what it actually does. And I have to admit, I am still exploring and deeply immersing myself into what the power of the being profile really is. But I can already share this, that for me, it really is a way to holistically look at, how we are being. It sounds so simple, right? And at the same time, as a mindset and life coach myself, I work with clients all the time who, you know, want to achieve their goals and get results in their own life. And what gets in the way is the human experiences that we are having, but particularly the lack of ability to really articulate what's going on. And without that, I think, Ari, you may have mentioned, like, then it just is like confusion or stuckness or overwhelm or whatever the human emotion and feeling is. And so for myself, I am, you know, looking at how I am being in my own life, in the relationships that I have, in the work that I am doing as a coach, and also as a professional fundraiser in the not-for-profit space. As well as looking around me and, you know, also having experienced clashes with teamwork and therefore not achieving the desired results that we want to get. And so having the language and having a tool like the being profile has really been transformational for me, because it's allowed me to first acknowledge, you know, how am I being? And then from there on, I'm getting some feedback. And then from there on, you know, removing all the labels of, like, I think someone mentioned categorization, removing the like identity or the status and all of that, but simply looking at, you know, who you are and who you're truly desiring to be. And then using the being profile as a way to shift that, whether that is, you know, having more, I need to frame this in a way that's going to resonate. You know, having a better relationship with forgiveness. I can put so much pressure on myself to, you know, do all the things that I want. I've just become a mother and have all these ambitions, etc. And so I've noticed in my relationship with forgiveness that I actually hold myself back because I need to work on this relationship in order to be more effective in my life. And that's just one example of what I'm trying to immerse myself into being, and how I can really use this tool. And so I also want to express my gratitude for this community. As you know, as a being profile practitioner, I've had the opportunity to be part of some of the incredible conversations that we're having and continuing to elevate our awareness. And at the same time, with no judgment and so much love and compassion, simply being present to not just your own transformations, but also from other people. And that to me has been really invaluable, because that tells me that, you know, yes, I'm not alone, and it motivates me and inspires me more to do better, because ultimately being of service as a coach is what I'm here to do. And so, yeah, truly grateful to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marlous. Thank you for your share. And again, I think that, you know, your authenticity shines through. I think that these are very human things, Marlous, that we deal with. And then to share those out and you know, bring up the authenticity, I think is phenomenal. Thank you. Awesome. So we've had a lot of sharing from coaches, and we actually will have a few more, but I'd like to bring a bit of a different torchlight over into organizations and some companies that we'd like to hear from. So the first is Joe Ernst. So Joe Ernst is the Director of People and Performance and Chief Operational Officer at Clipex. It's an Australian company, but that operates worldwide in the agriculture sector, over 300 employees. And that, I mean, it just fascinates me every time I hear from them in terms of how much they care about their people and their teams. Over to you, Joe.
Well, g'day everyone. Seeing I'm Australian, so g'day everyone. Yeah, my name is Joe, and beside me, and she just moved away, is my wife Debbie. So, as Aria said, I'm the Global Chief People Officer for Clipex, and Clipex, we actually design, we manufacture, we sell, we supply, and we install our innovative agricultural fencing and stockyard solutions here in Australia, in South America, and in Europe. So we have about 63 team members across Australia. We're in about 7 distribution and branch locations in all diverse areas around the country. We have approximately 150 employees at our manufacturing, wholly Australian-owned manufacturing facility in China. And we have small teams in Uruguay, Ireland, the UK, and France. We cannot fulfill our mission without the people in our team. Because of that, we invest time, money, and resources into developing a team that will have, and we know this through the Being book, the underlying qualities that drive effective, high-performing behaviours and actions. That is the only way we'll fulfill our mission. We have created a department in our global business focused on people, performance, and culture, and that's the department I lead. We believe in the value of our people. They're our human beings. So we invest in providing the opportunities for them to become their very best self. When the individuals in the team are healthy, when they're effective, and when they're fulfilled, the business is effective and able to fulfill its mission. And because of that, farmers across the world will be blessed. And here is the kicker for me and for us, is that this investment, this time, this money spent has a positive impact on the bottom line of the business as well. We initially connected with Ingenesis through Master Coach John Smallwood, who facilitated our national conference in January 2019. There, John introduced us to the, was it 2019? Hopefully it was right, John. Introduced us to the Being Profile and Thrive. What this conference did is it highlighted to us why we needed to utilise and develop the Thrive high-performing team coaching model and the Being Profile and framework in our management and teams. We realised that it would be crucial if we were to fulfil our vision of changing the global farming landscape for the better. Since that time, I've stepped aside from my other role. It's been a significant role as a COO of the business to focus on our people as the Chief People Officer. The business has chosen to invest time and dollars in my training to do this. So I completed the Being Profile accreditation program, which is to be trained in providing assessment and debrief for the Being Profile, and I utilised the Being Profile in all our recruiting. I then participated in the 3-month Thrive Coach training program to become an ontological coach. Thank you. In the last year, though, I've had the privilege of joining with Ashkan, along with others, in the Being Mastery program, which has been a deep dive which is deep diving into his previous book, Being the Source of Power. This has truly been transformational and empowering personally, and the application of the Being Framework transformation methodology we know is a key cornerstone on which our business and its people will build a successful future on. I've commenced reading Ashkan's latest book, Human Being. It sits on my desk in my office as a ready and handy resource. I remember saying earlier on, John, that you said not to call it a resource. My responsibility through coaching and leadership is to serve our team by helping them discover, unlock, and perform to their potential. What Ashkan has provided through his first book and now his second, Human Being, are powerful guides that assist in accomplishing this. So I would also acknowledge our founder, Ashley Olsen, highly recommend this book, and we've been truly grateful for the investment that Ashkan has put into us as a business, into us personally, as well as John Smallwood. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Awesome. I definitely would say from the beginning, you know, I couldn't see the bridge from an agriculture and fences and things company to working on the human beings, but, you know, it really inspired me that like any business on the planet, you know, can be taking an approach, putting their people first. So thank you, Joe, for the work you do, that Ashley does, and the work you guys do at Clip. Awesome. So one quick note before we move on is, remember, we are recording this. We will be using it in promotions, and, you know, we want to share the joy, social media, etc. Remember to keep your camera on or off as you wish to participate in that. Okay. Awesome. So look, without further ado, I'd like to bring your attention to Mr. Greg Aldridge. Greg has had 44 years in the community sector. He is the CEO of Everyman Australia, which is just doing phenomenal work in ACT and the now surrounding regions. And he recently was actually nominated for the Australian Order Medal for the dedicated work he's been doing for a long time. So without further ado, Greg Aldridge.
Thank you, Aria. Look, listening to everyone speak, I was just overcome with how much people get out of being involved in the entire Ingenesis project. So I really want to thank Aria and John and everyone who works behind the scenes, the work that you do, Aria, because you've really made this an awesome enterprise to become involved with. Look, just a very quick thing about my people, because this is really what forms the basis of my relationship with Ingenesis, is that we work with some of the most complicated people you can imagine. People with acquired brain injury, drug and alcohol problems, people who come in and out of jail, people who use violence, people who've been victims of violence, child abuse, sexual assault, all of the rest of it. And they really are an incredibly challenging group of people to work with. And years ago, I made a commitment to making my organization be a place where the people who work with our clients really love coming to work. And that might seem like a strange challenge, but I knew that personal development and personal growth was the key. People had to become bigger than the work that they did in order to be able to come to work every day, work with people, go home at the end of the day, and still want to come back to work the next day. So, and I know that people have their own particular, sort of idiosyncratic theories of psychology, and they have them about human beings and human nature. And my background is in psychology and philosophy as well. So when I discovered that Ashkan was a philosopher, I thought I've struck gold. But I had no idea what the Ingenesis enterprise was going to bring to our organization. And I can see I've only got 30 seconds left, so I'm going to have to talk very quickly. John introduced me to Ashkan and to Ingenesis. I read the Being book. I bought copies for all of my staff. I've got a third of my workforce trained as coaches. One of them's enrolled to do Being Mastery, which I'm just at the tail end of. Every single program inside of Ingenesis has empowered our organization and completely transformed it from top to bottom. Everything that I really struggled for in the last 4 or 5 years to get in the way of transformation of our organization has happened in the last 2 years as a result of everything that you can find in the Being book. And I haven't read the Being profile, the Human Being book yet because I'm on holidays, but I'm looking forward to that when I come back. Everything that you guys have done has made such a huge difference to our organization. And I would encourage anybody who's even dancing around the edges of wondering whether you should dive in. I mean, the water's fine. You'll get so much out of being involved in this enterprise. I can only say, do it.
Thank you, Greg. I think you made it very clear, and I love that about diving in. The water's fine. Sometimes it looks quite deep, or you don't know how cold it can be. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Rebecca Wood, who actually works in Tora Women Inc., who partners, their organization partners with Everyman Australia that Greg leads. And so Rebecca is the director of alcohol and other drug services and counseling services at Tora Women's Inc. So without further ado, Rebecca.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm sat here with my speech written and then just listening into everyone, and I was like, this really isn't what I want to share. Like, what I really want to share is what's really happened in this community. And I agree with Jacqueline, like, I didn't think I'd feel so emotional as I do. The journey for myself and every single person in this community and the teams we've all worked with, the individuals we've all coached, like, the transformation and change is just, it's magnificent. Like, you can't explain the difference it makes to people's lives. So thanks to Greg was how I got introduced to the Being profile and the coaching. John Smallwood was the first person we met who did my Being profile for me. And as I work in the drug and alcohol industry, I've worked with behaviour change for a very long time and always noticed that people will always slide back into old behaviours, and that constant relapse or things that go on for them. We just couldn't put a finger on what was happening. And I was kind of interested, you know, oh, all right, let's see what this profile's got to show me. And then I did it and I was like, oh, wow. Instantly, the way that the distinctions are written, I could see where I was stuck. I could see where things weren't working for me, not just as a leader, but as a human, like personal relationships, friendships, family. And it really gave me the ground to move, to transform, to have a look at the shadow side and the areas that I really didn't want to look at. It's been absolutely, transformational for myself. But the great thing is when I first started feeling the shift, and because Everyman and Tora were working together and implementing these training programs across our teams, it wasn't just myself that had the shift, it was also then impacting the teams that we work with and then the clients that we work with too. So the trickle down effect and the growth for everyone has been really, really large. I just can't thank the community in Ashkan enough for, you know, the opportunity to be on this journey. An example of like movements for the team would be, as Greg was referring to, it can be quite challenging working with really complex needs clients day in, day out. It can drain individuals. It can cause toxicity in teams, such as gossip or frustration, blame, resentment. And with this training and with the language like the language we were then taught and our ways of being that we learned, we could create a shift in how we were responsible for these stances that we were holding, and then start to view things with compassion and love and partnership, and grow together to really encourage each other to participate. And what's been so amazing is the gossip stopped, the leadership skills are there, people perform, participate, and they're happy to be at work. And rather than the team burning out and going, we want to leave, it's kind of like, well, what's our next opportunity? Where's our next learning curve? So it's just been amazing to watch. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I've had an amazing journey. I'm really looking forward to reading the book, which I confess I haven't yet. But yeah, it's fantastic, and I recommend everybody gets on board. So good. Thank you.
Fantastic, Rebecca. Thank you very much. I'm really humbled by, I mean, dealing with things like alcohol and other drugs, and these really complex and challenging issues. I mean, this is what it just, there's something special about this, that it can work in these types of situations where you can't fluff, you know what I mean? It either works or it doesn't. And that's something that is really meaningful to me, hearing those stories from you, Rebecca, and then from Greg and your organizations. Thank you. So over to John Williams, who has had a background also as a general manager of some very large companies, including a $1 billion multinational trading company. He has worked across Europe, Asia, America, in a part of his life, right? And now he is dedicating himself to men and how they deal with vulnerability today. And that's where his passion is moving. So please support me to welcome John Williams.
Thank you, Aria. Thank you all. Yes, that was an interesting part of my life, and now I'm doing something meaningful and something worthwhile. In those days, I was trading paper and plastics and bits and pieces. What happened to me and why I'm no longer in that career is I went through what the World Health Organization calls burnout. I was being who I wasn't really on the inside. So in 2012, basically, I woke up one day and could no longer go to work and do what I did. That was like entirely pointless. Very quickly, a few years later, a psychiatrist told me that you do realize that you'll never work again. That's it. You're toast. I'm like, okay, that's very interesting. And coming back to where it is now, because I've been on this journey with Ashkan and in Genesis and John and the wonderful group of people here. And I have been learning and learning and learning and learning. And I realized that what happened to me and why I'm interested in male vulnerability is because men and I don't tend not to do vulnerability very well at all. And the consequences of that is we have very high, well, too high number of Australians and Americans killing themselves every year. Men killing themselves, particularly men, and the middle-aged men who hit the crisis as I did, find themselves unable to shed the protector provider model that is thrust upon us. And so I want to do something about that. I want to say something about that and move past that, because it also, goes through. It's not just men killing themselves. Sometimes they choose to take their wife and family with them, which is not okay in any way, shape or form. So what I love about the work that Ashkan has done, I love the vision. I love the vision. It's a noble journey. We're going somewhere. This whole thing, imagine, I think somebody said one time, imagine if you're going to go and vote for, we've just come through an election here. What if every politician had to do the being profile and put that out publicly? Huh? We might know who to vote for then. And we might end up with some very, very different outcomes. Very, very different outcomes. So to me, this is the power that is being unleashed here. This is huge for me. And it's huge for you, and it'll be huge for anybody who wishes to open their minds to the work that Ashkan has done. But it's monumental for the planet. I don't overstate it, but we're making the invisible visible. Well, that was X-rays, wasn't it? That kind of had a bit of an impact on the planet. This is like a human X-ray. This goes straight to the heart of the matter, and you get to see what it is that you're dealing with. Now, I have read the Human Being book. because Ashkan came to me and did me a huge honor and asked me if I would narrate the book for an audiobook. And I can tell you, as of I think around 1:30 this afternoon, it's recorded. Thank you, Mark Charette down there. He's here somewhere. He's the sound engineer. He's done a marvelous job. It has been 33 hours in my little tent that he helped me build, and we're getting to be pretty good pals now. It's working beautifully. But the hard work's ahead of us. In terms of it's got to go through editing, etc., etc. But it was a huge privilege to try and get inside as much as I can, Ashkan, how Ashkan would express this and try and bring it out. So I hope and pray that I've done it justice. But it was a wonderful walk and a wonderful journey, and I learned again so much from it, Ashkan, because you'll say, okay, I need to interpret this. And look, it doesn't take you 33 hours to read the book, but it does if you have to do retakes and go, hang on, that's not the way that should have been said. Hang on, that's not right, you know? So, you know, it's been a great journey. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I've got for you this evening. Thank you so much for allowing me the honor of speaking.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And as Natasha says that I'm saying it, I think everyone is going to get the audio book, not only for the content, but to listen to the voice. Lovely. Awesome.
Thank you.
So one brief note that so Wayne Stickle, so he's an extraordinary coach who is passionate about disability and leadership and raising that conversation. So we're looking forward to having him speak, but he was feeling quite unwell and he sends his apologies, but we wanted to acknowledge that. So thank you, Wayne. We miss you and we hope you're getting better. Fantastic. So let's move to the next, Helen Robinett. So Helen Robinett has had a long time in, she's been a director of many companies before, or a board of directors, sorry, and worked with women in that space. So I'd like to introduce Helen Robinett.
Thanks, Aria. And congratulations, Ashkan. This is much easier to carry around than this lump here. So yeah, I've been getting muscles with this one. So there you go. But it's just fantastic. I'm involved in being mastery, and I really didn't expect to get out of that what I did. You know, like just an awareness around layers of reality and looking at things, you know, with through a clear lens, you know, which has been quite impactful for me. And I see the world differently now to what I did before. And, you know, over the last 12 months, I've had some health challenges. And the first thing I was going to do was drop out of being mastery. And John and Ashkan convinced me that this was the thing to keep and drop something else. So I just went with that and stuck with it. And, you know, like my life slowed down to a complete half with some uninvited visitors inhabiting my brain. And, you know, it's actually been really, really good because I've become more present to love, compassion, forgiveness, and I'm not coaching so many clients at the moment, but the ones I have, I'm a better person now than what I was 12 months ago. And this is phenomenal. And I was actually talking to Wayne today about this, and it's blown my mind to sit back and reflect, and the support that I've had from the community. And, you know, I have to acknowledge my buddy Markus here for really supporting me through the program. Now I'm getting emotional. Yeah, and my focus has completely changed. You know, like I was focusing on supporting women with my coaching. I'm not doing that anymore. And it's really interesting to look at how young men are coming into my path. and I feel really strongly about that. And I'm, you know, things are coming out of my mouth, and who I'm being is so different. It's so different, and it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful for it. So very grateful. And, you know, to bring my sense of humor and the level of gratitude I've got, I can't even bring words to. I just can't. So yeah, it's a great journey being Mastery. It's, you know, it's really fantastic, and the community is awesome, just awesome. So I haven't finished the book yet, but I'm about to. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Helen. Thank you very much. I think that you're really telling of the journey. You know, we don't know where it's going to take us, right? When we go and discover our authentic self. Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Louise Smallwood to talk. If you don't know, Louise is the wife of John Smallwood. She is quite an experienced coach, organizational coach, and performance coach in and of herself. And she plays a big role in the Genesis Coach Academy as well, facilitating a master coach for the Thrive Coach Training Program. Over to you, Louise.
Wow, it sounds fancy. So, I actually didn't prepare anything because I just wanted to hear what everybody said. And part of me is regretting that because there's so much that I want to communicate. And then part of me is like, no, it's okay. Just give me a minute. I think what's there for me, so I work with a big team. I'm an organizational coach, and I work within a big team. And one of the challenges that our team, or the greater team, have had is knowing where to start. It's like, what is, you know, how do we shift our performance? Where do we start? There's so many different tools and methodologies, and they all contribute something. But this work actually makes a difference. This work actually, and I don't need to tell you because you all know now, but this goes beneath the behavior and actually looks at what drives us, because at the end of the day, people are in relationship with each other. And it's just how it's looking at how it is we show up in life and respond to each other. Actually, Ashkan, at the beginning, you said, you know, that leaders were looking, I actually wrote it down. Leaders were looking for great people, talented people, and amazing people. And I thought, oh my gosh, we've got great people, talented people, and amazing people. We really do in our team, the team I support, and this community here. And we all deal with stuff. Like, the world is not smooth sailing. So it really isn't. So what this work gives, or what this gives us, is actually something that's real. So it's not made up, it's real. So we're talking about your qualities and the health of, you know, your relationship with how you are. So it's looking at those, the reality of who you are and how you respond to certain situations, and then that gives you a certain result. So I think for me and the team I work with, you can really see the difference. And I've got two teams. I've got one team that I worked solidly with the whole team for 2 years. That team transformed. And now I'm working with a team where there's only part of the team involved, and the difference, it's phenomenal. So this team has more ease and grace. They get through stuff. It doesn't mean it's always easy, but there's workability. So it's a workability conversation. And I think for me personally, I've come through being Mastery, so we're nearly at the end. I'm healthier. I'm healthier in my relationship with John. He's downstairs, by the way, I'm upstairs. So in my relationship with my girls, who are adults, in the relationships that we have with all these people, and we can just actually be honest with each other. Sometimes we don't like it. But the results I'm getting actually have shifted. So my confidence is completely shifted. Lucy, Faulconer will get this. Yeah, it's completely transformed because I'm actually being responsible with who I actually am, because I actually have what it takes. I can make a difference. So it's just me getting present to actually who I actually am and that reality. So it's kind of opened that up. But what I'm really excited, and Ashkan, the biggest thing is obviously just acknowledging you on this book. And just, I've never met anyone with a fire in them like you, like never. And really just want to acknowledge you for, now I'm going to get moved, for, you know, just what you give. We have that now coming into a part of the Ingenesis Coaching Academy, and leading that with John and Markus as well. And some of you guys are on here, and the community we create in this, it's really special because we're actually committed to people changing their lives, and it's not fake, because each one of us impacts each other, and we're all in relationship, and the intention is that we just have a better life and a better world. So just want to congratulate you, Ashkan. I love you and think you're amazing, and just, yeah, that's great. Thank you for all you give us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Louise. There's a lot you've shared there. Thank you. I'd like to pass the baton to Kathy Fong-Kumar in Fiji. I'll let you do the talking and share the great work you're doing over there, Kathy.
Bula, everyone, Bula Vinaka, and good evening. We're actually well into our evening here in Fiji because we're about 2 hours ahead of most of you in Australia. I've just been told that I've only got like 1.5 minutes, so I'm going to have to really make this quick. But, you know, I live in Fiji, and sometimes I feel like I'm the special child. And there's a lot of focus on me because, you know, we got to get it right in Fiji, and we've started. I just worked with a corporate company, aside from working with some individuals, but just got inroads into a corporate company, and that went really, really well. By the way, I'm an entrepreneur that offers management support in the tourism and hospitality sector here in Fiji, because I've spent pretty much almost 30 years in this sector in hotels and resorts. And I also do leadership coaching and training. So I've worked with this company that I just mentioned, a life insurance company here in Fiji with quite a big investment portfolio, and had some of their senior managers, middle managers, and some high potentials that went through a 3-month leadership coaching workshop in regards to the being profile and the being framework. So the good news is that they want to continue to explore what else we can do together. So it's been quite successful, and I'm just so glad that that part is over. But at this point, I also want to just really express my gratitude to the team at Ingenesis. Like I said, I really feel like the special child, and everyone is like there to just support. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I don't think I'm the only one. Yeah, and it's just so beautiful, the partnership. I just don't know how to express it, right from even the confirmation of this company that I work for, just getting the being profile into Fiji. This has been really special because it's the first time that the being profile has come to Fiji and the South Pacific, and the first time for this corporate company to actually take the risk of doing it, right, with me. So yeah, the partnership has been so good, and I just don't have words to describe it, right from Ashkan, Aria, John, all my buddies that I started with, they're all on here. And I have to make special mention of Wayne, who introduced me to this in a little meeting back here on a beach in Fiji, where you all need to come very soon. Yeah, it's just, I just don't know how to explain it, but it's just been so amazing, the actual partnership that I've had with Ingenesis and the help that I've received and continue to get from them. Last but not the least, the main reason we're here, you know, for the corporate company that I've served, you know, the question that they ask us, that's what I got asked, you know, where to from here? What can you do to support us from here? So the statement that I just like to make as I leave you is that this book, the reason we're here, of course, human being, I'd like to tell them that, you know, human being is the start of many books to come to support you and your people in this area of work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Awesome. Fantastic. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ehssan Sakhaee. He is an honorary lecturer from the University of Sydney and though is passionate about well-being, about health. So over to you, Dr. Ehssan.
Thanks, Aria. And I too have a 1.5 minutes. So I've just got a timer starting now, so I don't go overboard. But just want to congratulate you, Ashkan. Now I got to know Ashkan through Aria a couple of years ago. I think it was at his birthday, and we had some chats. And little did I know the depth of work he is involved in. And past 12 months has really been amazing in terms of, you know, in my life over the past 10 years, I've had times where I felt I've been transformed, but in the last 12 months, I realized now there's so many layers of transformation. And thanks to you, Ashkan, and the work and the community, and just an incredible community. And the book, the recent book, Human Being, is a much more toned and slimmer version of the Human Being, which is the first book. And I think it's a fantastic one. I haven't finished it. I applaud John for doing it in 2 days. I don't know how he does it. So, but yeah, looking forward to going there. But yeah, just want to congratulate you, Ashkan, and the team, Aria, and everyone in Genesis. It's an amazing journey, and thank you for having me be part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ehssan. Awesome. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Bonnie Henare, who is a managing director of AHO International, making waves in the education sector in New Zealand. Over to you, Bonnie.
Hey, thanks, Aria. It really is a privilege to reciprocate contribution here, right? So thank you. And Ashkan, I just, you know, I really want to just express what's currently here for me, like being in the presence of authentic partnership and the way that you created it tonight has just been so moving to know that on a personal, professional level, there's this, you know, deep commitment and care for each other and being able to make the kind of contributions that you are so generously. So thank you for your grace and your goodness. And I'm really privileged to be able to share a few things about what I do. Firstly, I just want to note, so you say I'm the Managing Director and Principal Consultant for AHO International, which is an educational consultancy group. And we do teacher recruitment and training. What I want to say about our name, AHO is a Māori word used to describe what we would call thread or fibre, and it's related to the fibre of one's being. So our core purpose in business is to actually unfold, reveal, and to help others to discover the unique fibre of being. That's what we're up to in the sphere of education. So I am located here in Auckland, New Zealand. And Kathy, I'm saying to you, I'm a special child too, 2 hours ahead in New Zealand, and first did the Being Profile in September 2020. Completed the Being Profile practitioner training and also the Thrive coaching. So I have been in education for over 25 years and am a teacher. And for the last 15 years of my career, I have been a pedagogical coach. So being committed to transforming practice, the act of teaching and learning with children and with teachers in teaching teams. So that has been my passion and my love. What I discovered when I did the Being Profile was that, you know, there was, like many have said tonight, I discovered that there were areas of my professional work that I could not impact. You know, like I could really build skills. I could help people kind of hone teaching dispositions and to be able to help them to develop professional knowledge and practice. but there were ways of being that I could not shift, that I was fully aware of and I was present to. And, you know, what I was present to is how it was impacting children and learners. And I was like, I need some sort of tool to try and impact this, because, you know, I'm present that when children are actually in the presence of another teacher, that their influence could actually impact their way of being and growing up, you know, in the world. And their communication can alter their very identity, the fibre of their being. So I've been passionately committed to finding tools, methodologies that would be able to support and in fact elevate the way that I work with others in an educational consultancy role. So the being profile for me, I did personally, and it altered everything. I have been in transformation in terms of education for close to 20 years. And for me, being able to get, like I think it was maybe a little bit of what Rebecca said earlier, that it wasn't until I was able to touch on the distinctions and the way that the being profile and, you know, being the source of power delivered and articulated for me, it really had me be sourceful and being able to draw from, you know, distinctions that could actually alter the way that people understood themselves and were able to transform the very essence of their being that had them be stopped. So look, it's had a real profound impact on my career, and that I've been able to have my teams participate in the being profile. I've been able to build my organization from the ground up, and being able to support with recruitment procedures to be able to have people participate in a being profile to really empower women. One of the biggest contracts we hold here in New Zealand is with the Ministry of Social Development and the Social Services, and working with women who have been out of employment for 10 to 20 years and have been, you know, welfare dependent, who have, you know, really lost their way. And through the being profile, being able to help them to rediscover, you know, their unique expression in the world and have them be empowered around making, you know, choices for their life that not only supports their building of wealth and creation of their life, but also in fulfilling what it means to actually be fully responsible and accountable for being a mother, you know, a wife, a partner, in their home. So it really has been extraordinary. And like many here, when I go to think of what Ashkan has done in the conversations and the sphere of your influence, I'm so moved by the craftsmanship of the words and the distinctions that you've created that, you know, help us to unconceal those things in our relationships that we're fully not present to a lot of the time. And I've been able to really look at the foundations of the relationships that have me be who I am in the world. So look, it is really, and I have to say, I have not yet got my hands on the book Human Being. I'm a bread lover. Okay, so I'm like snacking morsels off the Being book. So I break off a bit of that and I will savor every bite of that. I'll put it into practice. I will train the people that I have in my teams, and I scarcely feel that I've even nourished my nation in the way that I could just from that book. Like just from being able to break up a bit of that bread and share it to sustain, you know, life and what it means to be a human being in this world. So look, I'm so excited and so ecstatic that there's just more of this. You know, it's like, you know, a bread feasting for me. So I'm truly deeply grateful for the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Awesome. Yeah, I just have this picture in my head now of eating the book. Thank you. Awesome. So look, I'd like to acknowledge all of our speakers. Thank you so much for your vulnerable, your authentic sharing and your contribution and who you are and sharing a part of yourself. I do want to let you know, so we have about 6 minutes. We're going to go into Q&A, but then we're going to have an extended Q&A. We are committed that if people need to go at 7:30 local time, you can close up. But if anyone has any burning questions, we do want to give you the opportunity to stay on. I have a quick announcement, which is that there's 2 links for you if you're keen, if you're interested. So do know that the book is still on special pricing for the book launch for the next 7 days. And you simply need to go to humanbeingbook.net and find the order form through there. So Odette, if you can put that in the link for everyone. And secondly, if you're not yet on there, in genesis.com, you'll see a lot of free articles, actually, but authored by many people here on the call that you heard speak. We have our programs on there. If you've heard anything you want more information on, and essentially those stars are that there's a lot still to come. So with that being there, I invite you to raise your hand if you have a burning question, or you can throw it in the chat and we'll start the Q&A. Awesome. Connor, welcome, welcome.
Hi, good evening all. It's not a question, it's simply a massive thank you to everyone. I am very new to this particular Genesis community. I wouldn't say I'm new to the ontological community, having worked with Alan and Newfield. 5 years ago, I started my personal journey. So I simply want to say thank you to all of you. Ashkan, I'm very much looking forward to reading your book. Congratulations. And it's truly been a privilege to be a part of this as a listener for the last 2 hours. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Faulconer. Thank you. And with regards to Alan, we are in a series of conversations now, and we're becoming good friends. Thank you for mentioning me. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So another book is another question came from the audience. When is the Audible or the audio version of the book available?
Well, we have Mark. So now the ball is in his field, and John here. So as John mentioned today, the recording is done. So perhaps somewhere mid to second half of August. Yeah. Would you say that, Mark?
That's very likely. In fact, actually, just to give you an idea of where things are at, folks, I'm going to give you a little treat. This is actually where the audiobook is at. If you look at my screen over here, I'm going to do a screen share. Can we do it? Left screen. Yeah, there it is. There it is. That's where we're at right now, folks. So it's actually happening. It's real. So all going well. Mid-August is my plan. But you have to remember that publishing an audiobook has to go through a lot of hoops. Okay. So once we actually get it published, then we actually have to get into the agency. Once it goes to the agency, then it'll go through. So yes, it's coming. We're working on it as fast as we can, but we got to get it right. Okay. And by the way, I do want to give a big shout out, Phaedra. Thank you very much for the referral and recommendation. She's the one who's responsible for getting me involved in this project, and I'm very, very proud to be working on this with you, Ashkan. And John, what a voice! He's the voice. We're gonna have.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. And yes, yeah, we should acknowledge Phaedra. And I would like to say that he's not going to be wasted. We're going to have his voice on multiple different things from here. We have also Caroline is supporting us in the community. Caroline and John are the beautiful voices and everyone loves to hear. And yeah, so the more animations and videos and contents are coming, and you're going to have enjoy their voices. So thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for that.
We'll keep you in the loop, basically.
Update. So look, we'll go to one question before we officially close. But one note is, so on ingenesis.com, we have over 70 articles. By the end of the year, we're looking at about 100 plus, all in this dialogue, yeah, in very many different diverse topics. And as you saw here, we have quite a diverse community, and we're looking to continue to expand that. Now, I did want to acknowledge the technology team that is up every day supporting, you know, us to all be here, even in the registration. So some of them, if you're there, wave. They're not all here because they're working on that. But yeah, we really acknowledge you and thank you for all of your support behind the scenes. Last question, Ashkan, for now from Gagana is, are there any plans to translate the book in other languages? And if yes, when and which languages?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like the very first one is being Persian, my mother tongue, basically, with language. And we have Aydin and Amal, like some of our guys from Iran, supporting us basically through publishers. That's going to be the very first one. And there's some conversations going on. I can't reveal it now because it's not fully done. But through Lucy, and, you know, like we have some conversations, you know, target particular community. At this stage, I can't say, you know, there is a predictive plan, but why not? Like, we're quite open and willing that as we go, we keep translating the content. Yeah.
So firstly, I acknowledge you, every single one of you, you know, being here, being present with us. I was just thinking for a second, this is not just like an ordinary Thursday night and we're just chatting on Zoom. I mean, it's phenomenal, you know, the work each of you are doing, even you coming in and participating, listening to this and being with this work. I mean, we're heavily privileged to be doing that with you. So I'd like to bring the official book launch of the Human Being book to a close. Thank you everyone for being with us, and we hope to see you around and continue this journey long into the future. Yeah. So if you need to leave, feel free to close up. But yeah, we will continue with another 15 minutes should there be any questions. So I do want to rate that there's a couple that were in the chat to us. So one, Ashkan, was a comment about, it was about the interest, was extroversion and introversion, and can you comment on those not being a fixed thing, but being more preferences?
Okay, so what was the question?
The question was it was more of a comment around introversion and extroversion, yeah, not being a fixed thing, but being a preference. And so how does that sort of fit into the model? Could you comment on how that is being treated?
Yeah, so one of the things that we typically collapse, and it's quite common, is personality and temperament. Now, so temperament-wise, we can say that from the time that we're born, like we have series of qualities. Now, the thing is that these qualities, they get impacted by your upbringing, your parenting strategy, environment, culture, religion, many different factors, as well as like then when you're an adult, you start thinking, and through your cognitive abilities and intellect, then you impact them to an extent. Now, if hypothetically we say that a person is not is being quite lived intact in a way, and they're not being impacted, which is impossible, by any of those external, so their personality, their overall personality is going to be overtaken by their innate temperament. And that's basically where, on the negative side, you may end up having this 40-year-old infant. And many of these like bad behaviors or what toxicity and everything is coming from it. Now, the thing is, we acknowledge that there is this sort of innate temperament there. But what we're saying is, and that in part expresses itself through what is commonly referred to as being extroverted or introverted. But then, you know, we have ambiverted. I don't know if you've heard about it, but like we have something in between. And the thing is, through our experience, our empirical data working with people, we know that people shift, people transform. Yeah. So we had people that they, you know, they used to be called like introverted, but then the person they are today, they're quite different. So yes, the point is, yes, we acknowledge that channel of expression of self, but then we say that it's not, we're not hardwired to be the way we are. So that's the notion that we do have a little bit of problem here. Yeah. some people find it easier or harder to, be extroverted, let's say, but then, or introverted, if someone wants to be. But the thing is, it is possible. It is possible. Yeah, that's our take. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Modad.
Hello, everyone, and congratulations, Ashkan.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask was that is the human books another series of the being book? Like, are they like together, or each of them is an independent book? And can someone read the human book before reading the being book?
Oh, sure. So first of all, the books are mediums, mediums in the means of communicating the discourse. So now what is most important for us here to be communicated is the discourse and the series of messages. Now, being book is intentionally designed to represent the body of the work, the body of work. It has like lots of footnotes. It's not completely philosophical or academic. I don't put it like that because there's stories in it. There is a kind of narrative there, but it's a big investment. It tries to create a graph in the back of your mind to cause that paradigm shift. Lots of references and everything. So that's designed for a different purpose, for studious people, for the people that they are quite invested in this, they see value in it, and they want to go deeper. Particularly, we use it in the Being Master, which is like a 1-year course. It's an exclusive program that I personally invite individuals after going through some other program. Now, but it's there, it's available. If someone is really interested to know what's going on behind the scene, it's very good for them to actually look into it. Now, human being book is not just a concise version of the being book. While there are lots of things being repeated, but there are new concepts or meanings such as exposure triangle, or, like even the narrative is quite different. Like, for example, we bring transformation methodology right in the beginning so that you go, you read it. It's not like a reference point. Reference book is designed for a broader audience. It's less technical. Therefore, what I would say is I highly recommend you to read the human being book first. And then once you're in the discourse, you start engaging with that. And then if you're interested to go deeper, then you will go and read and or study the being book. Yeah. And there's more to that, because like there's this whole being discourse is part of a bigger conversation that I'm having, and that's the thing that I believe it's going to be complete in the next 3 years. Yeah, so the being discourse is part of a bigger conversation that I've been working on. I hope that I answered your question. Did you get the thing that you wanted? Do you have any other questions? Okay.
Not quite clear. Thanks.
No worries. No worries.
Thank you. And so we had one from Lucy Huynh. Lucy, I'm not sure if you're on thingy, but I'm going to read it out. Oh, you got your thumbs up. So she says, congratulations, Ashkan, on the success of the Being book and now the Human Being book. Just curious, are there other aspects that you are interested in exploring next and or even deeper?
Ah, great. Very great question. Well, the thing is, so there are many different aspects to human beings. Now, the intention was to narrow it down to the ones that I found through the study that are the most important ones when it comes to performance. But performance, I don't mean the KPI in the corporate world. I mean like how you engage in the game of life, how you experience life at the end of the day. So it was a kind of a counterproductive if we wanted to have like, let's say 200 different aspects of being. Yeah. So I needed to go to the bottom of it, like analytical thinking, convergent thinking, going to the root, the ones that are so fundamental, hence some of them are called primary, or the combination of the moods and primary ways of being are called them primal aspects of being. So that was intentional to shortlist it and not let it to grow so much. And the initial version, we only had 4 moods and 12 primary ways of being. Later on, gradually, we added another 6, another 4 primary ways of being and 8 secondary ways of being. So altogether are now 31, including the 3 meta factors: awareness, integrity, and effectiveness. So to go back to your question more directly, now that I've created this context, the intention is not to work on more ways of being, because many of the ways of being are the constructs that they can be described using the existing language. For example, focus can be described by someone's relationship with commitment and care, let's say, for an example. Yeah, for example. Now, the intention is not to let it to grow, but in terms of going deeper, yes, there are some conversations, and some of them, I personally am very interested to go deeper, but there are also others in the community that we have some conversations. Let's say, for example, forgiveness can be a really good candidate that would go a little bit deeper.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashkan. And I think for me, as I reflect back on this, everyone who spoke, right, there's this whole thing that today we're filled with a lot of noise. Yeah, and I can say this, for example, studying psychology, being in the business realm, and you have so many different tips, techniques, etc. And I think that this thing that Ashkan is saying, which even I personally am looking forward to the next 3 years, articulating even more of this, of just going back to these fundamentals that work, that are aligned with reality. And that's why these results are happening. So it's no coincidence. And yeah, I'm very interested actually in this is where we are today, what we're going to be seeing tomorrow. So look, we have a couple of minutes. I would invite us to just take about 30 seconds to just, let it sit and digest it. And then if there are any final comments before we close or any final burning questions, we'll bring that up. Odette.
Hey everyone. So yeah, first of all, I'm really touched with everyone's speeches, and I feel so guilty being that time reminder. I was like, why do I have this? But my main thing is that, yeah, I definitely just want to see more of the being like in schools, and if I were to be like that 10-year-old me back then, I would love to learn more about this. Like even when I was little, like there are things I know we have to learn about, but then like I always think about how can we like really apply this, or is this something that I really want? But like the being is something like I don't necessarily choose to, like it's just something that we really need, whether you like it or not. So I think it'd be really great to have this conversation in schools and being practiced in schools. Something that I wish I had when I was high school, primary school. So yeah, that's just my main comment on that.
And actually that connects perfectly. I don't know if you colluded or something, but Markus sent in the question saying, is there going to be develop something for kids, Ashkan, something for younger people?
Yeah, definitely we were thinking about many of these things, but yeah, let's leave it for some other time. We will keep everyone in the loop. Yes, there are some conversations going on like that as well, but not for very near future. Thank you, Markus, for bringing that up. Arya, I think like we
Very
should
good.
let people go.
Yeah, we're at time. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for joining. I'm delighted to have you be with us, and yeah, we will see you soon. Have a fantastic night or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye.